executive partner of the Partnership for International Birding. Jesse, thanks for starting the recording there. With me today is Leio Souza, who's calling in from the UK. I'm just going to take a few minutes to talk about the ground rules for the tour or the call. We truly encourage questions. We love questions from the participants. So feel free to unmute your phone if you don't have a lot of background noise. Last call, we had to have people mute just because we were having connection problems, we think from Pennsylvania. Hopefully we'll have good luck from the UK today. And everybody can just stay unmuted and ask questions. I truly know that birders know how to be quiet in a forested area. So, keep quiet a little bit, but save your questions for the question breaks. And there you go. And if you can't get a question in, because sometimes Zoom is a little funky, sort of grabbing the voice that's the loudest, feel free to text your question in, and Jesse will send you a place to text those in today. Jesse Huth is also on the phone today from Texas. He's sort of the phone call administrator today. So participate, give us some good questions. The quick agenda today is Leo's going to cover some of his favorite sites of birding in Papua New Guinea. And that includes Varirata National Park, Kumul, Mount Hagen, and several more. After each geographical area, we'll take a little break for formal questions. We do keep it pretty casual because it's worked well. So again, no matter what, we welcome you to participate, and all questions are welcome. A little bit about Leio Souza. Leio was born and raised along in India's southwest coast in the former Portuguese enclave of Goa. He established the first birding lodge there in 1998, and he now lives most of the year in the United Kingdom with his wife, Jennifer, and their new baby, Jesse. Leio has 25 years of professional experience leading bird tours throughout South Asia and beyond. Leio has been leading tours in Papua New Guinea with the Partnership for International Birding since 2016. As I said, Leio is like my best friend in the birding business. He does have exceptional field skills. Clients just rave about his professionalism and his personal enthusiasm. And he truly has a fun-loving nature and is always worth a good laugh. And it really contributes to the success of every tour. And he's clearly the best people manager of any bird tour leader that we have. He's just great at keeping the group agreeable together and moving along. With no further ado, I'll let Leio take over and tell you about his favorite birding sites in Papua New Guinea. Go, Leio.
Hi, everybody. Let me take you on it won't be, I could take on the whole day telling you about Papua New Guinea, but as we have just half an hour, and I'll show you a few birds, and then you can put in your questions, whatever you'd like to ask about birding in Papua New Guinea. Well, Papua New Guinea, as you all know, is the destination and is actually birding in paradise. And I do think it is birding in paradise because it's like one of the best places to bird. It's not as easy and it's not hard. The tour pace that we use is very easy and easygoing for everybody, but we try and stick to all the main tracks and everything and not make it very hard for any of our clients. Birding wise, the birding can be hard at certain places because it's a lot of canopy birding, and sometimes the birds can be a bit skulkish and it can be hard, but we try and get everybody onto the bird that we see. Just to give you a rough idea, Papua New Guinea is the biggest island. It's one of the world's second largest islands and just north of Australia. And the whole island is shared half with Indonesia and the other half with Papua New Guinea. I won't go much into detail of the geography and things because there's a lot to cover up on the birding in Papua New Guinea, which we think is more important. We have 2 tours that we run with Partnership for International Birding. And the longer one is an 18-day tour that takes us right from Port Moresby right up to Kiunga in the west. And the other one is a 10-day tour, which just does a half day. For the short tour, it is just the first 3 parts of the tour that I'll be taking you through. The 18-day tour, we start in Port Moresby, and we cover up 2 sites of Varirata and the Pacific Adventist University. Then we got a flight up to Mount Hagen. And then from Mount Hagen, we do a drive to Sirunki, staying at the Kumul Lodge. And then we fly back from Mount Hagen onto Tabubil and bird around Tabubil, and then drive on to Kiunga. From Kiunga, we do an overnight trip up to along the Elevala River, and then back from Kiunga, we fly to Port Moresby. And this is the 18-day tour. The 10-day tour is just the first bit where we fly from Port Moresby to Mount Hagen, and then we do Mount Hagen to Sirunki, and then back down to Moresby. Well, the first few days of the tour, we bird around Port Moresby, and the main 2 sites in Port Moresby is Varirata National Park and the Pacific Adventist University. The Varirata National Park is a small reserve, and I mean, it's mainly dense forest and with streams, and they've got nice, well-laid trails that you can walk through. It is, at times it can get, some parts of the park can get a bit noisy because it is used as a picnic site for the locals, and a lot of locals go there. But the birding out there is extremely good. We usually tend to spend a whole day birding in the area. I mean, the key species, I mean, there's a lot of species that we get out there, but I will just run through a few. The main ones, the Reggiana bird of paradise. We've got a lac for the Reggiana bird of paradise where you get around 7 to 8 males displaying, and the females out there as well. So we spend some time at the lac. And then the other birds that we have along the trails that we walk is the barred owlet nightjar. It's a nice small nightjar that stays in this hole in the tree, and we just have to go and just
you
tap
may be cutting out.
Yeah, Charles? Yeah. We get the barred owlet
Go ahead, Leo.
Get the barred owlet nightjar. Are you hearing me?
Hey, Jesse, do you want to send him a text that he's cutting out a little bit?
He's fine here. You're the one that's cutting in and out.
Maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least on my end. He's
okay too.
Okay. We get this barred owlet nightjar. Again, it's the roosting site where it stays in the hole of the tree. So we just go and just tap the whole tree trunk, and the bird comes out straight out and looks at us. You get black-capped lories. I mean, they're quite common, and you get them along the drive up to the reserve and a lot along the resort that you stay at as well. We get more than three types of kingfisher, but these are some of the main ones: brown-headed paradise kingfisher, which you see on the top right corner. And then you get yellow-billed kingfisher, which is on the bottom right. And the kookaburra, rufous-bellied kookaburra. We also get the blue-winged kookaburra as well in the same area, and a lot of other kingfishers. We also get the other birds of paradise as well. Then we move on to Pacific Adventist University, where we bird the grounds of the university, which has got open grounds with a lot of large trees and a lot of patches of grasslands and a lot of small ponds in the same campus. We have a lot of roosting site for the Papuan frogmouth and the grounds of the university. We also get Amboana cuckoo doves, black-backed butcherbirds, and then a variety of water birds which overlap with Australia. We get Australian swamp hen, comb-crested jacana. And after we finish with Port Moresby, over the 2 days that we stay there, we fly up to the Highlands. And the flight usually takes us around 1.5 hours to get to the Highlands, and we stop at Mount Hagen. And when at Mount Hagen, we bird the area locally around the area. I mean, the lodge that we stay at is Kumul Lodge in the Highlands in Mount Hagen. Kumul Lodge has got, is in a small private garden of its own, which has got dense forest and paths through the gardens. It's got a nice table with feeders on it, where we get a lot of birds of paradise. Well,
Hey, Leo, I had a little technical difficulty here in Denver. I am now sitting on part of my Wi-Fi box. Hey, I just want to open up just a brief questions about birding in the Port Moresby area. So there's 2 key sites. There's Varirata National Park, and there's Pacific Adventist University. Do some cultural and religious practices. Pacific Adventist University is closed on Saturdays. We usually get it on the last day of the tour leaving. Varirata is usually the first day of the tour. And we do both those locations on both the 10-day tour and the 18-day tour. Does anybody have any questions about Varirata National Park or Pacific Adventist University?
How wet is the walking?
pardon me?
How wet is the walking?
It's not wet at all. It's all onto proper trails, all well-marked trails. A lot of birding is done from the main road. And in the university, it's just on the grounds of the university.
Yeah, so probably, Leo, total walking at Pacific Adventist University, PAU, is probably under half mile, right?
Yeah.
Or about a half mile.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not far.
More than what, yeah, that's less than what we do actually. I mean, there's nothing much that we do around there because it's just that you stand and just bird around certain points. So you don't do much walking at the Pacific Adventist University.
Yeah, and it's always surprising to me when I look at trip reports to see the productivity of PAU towards the end of the tour, just the number of trip birds we get before we sneak off to the airport at midday, towards the end of the tour. And then at Varirata National Park, I mean, a national park sounds like a big place. We had the question about the walking, but it's truly like a small reserve. When you say small reserve, you mean how many miles of driving and walking is there's quite a bit of trails, right?
There's quite a bit of trails. Our maximum, I mean, the trails are not even 1 kilometer long.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah,
So there's several good trails, but the walks are always about a half mile to a mile on the outside.
That's right. And we spend a lot of time gets spent looking at flocks because you get a lot of birds in flocks. So you start picking up mixed flocks and fruiting trees. So you spend time just scanning and watching at different points. So there's not much walking done.
Right, and so though we bird a full day at Varirata National Park, that's really probably a total of a couple miles of walking, maybe 2 or 3, maybe more. I'm asking.
Less than 3. It's less than 3.
Okay, so less than 3 miles walking all day long. So even I would call that super slow birder's pace, just because we're looking at the flocks. Did that answer your question, ma'am?
Yeah, I wasn't worried about length, just whether I needed boots.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Good question. Any other good questions about Pacific Adventist University or Varirata National Park?
We did get one through the group chat from Susan. Is there a best time to visit for birding?
I mean, it's right from June, July, August. It's right up to November.
Yep. So June, July to October is sort of the answer to that question, and even early November. And and there we go. And most of our tours we've just been doing sort of June, July, August. We like to get it done before the bird fair in the UK. As we train new guides on the tour, we'll probably expand that. And just depending upon how 2021, 2022 goes, we may do a bunch of tours around June, July, and then try some in October, November as well. We shall see. We do think the demand for the tours is going to increase substantially because of the pandemic will get over, and everybody's going to be birding tours. There's going to be buying birding tours left and right. Good question. Any other questions out there so far on either Pacific Adventist University or Varirata National Park? A question on sort of the average daily temperature in the Port Moresby area.
I mean, it does get quite humid at times. It can go up to around 30, but the humidity
and you mean
is quite high.
Celsius, so you're going to interpret that for us. That's like 80?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Hey, Jesse, can you do that math really quick? Jesse Huth. I am terrible at Celsius and Fahrenheit conversion. Unfortunately, Leo's a Brit at heart in a way. And so he thinks in Celsius, which I never understand as an American.
Yeah, so it's 86 degrees.
Oh my gosh. So it gets up in the
30.
mid 80s and it's humid in the Port Moresby area. All right, I think we're going to get on to the presentation. Go on to Mount Hagen, Leo.
Well, birding in Mount Hagen, we spent a couple of days at the Kumul Lodge before we move higher up to Sirunki, and we spent time at Yasukom. A few of the key birds around Mount Hagen area at the Kumul Lodge, we have feeders where you get the brown sicklebill at the feeders, at Maledactus, Belford's Maledactus, Am's tiger parrot, ribbon-tail astrapia. You get mountain firetail around the gardens, crested satin birds. And then we also do treks out and drives out to various points where we go in for the lac for the super bird of paradise. We're going for the lesser bird of paradise. And then we also go in for different other birds in the surrounding area. So we spend a couple of nights around the Kumul Lodge. We bird around the lodge and then make drives out to various points for different other species. I mean, the drives usually a half day where we go out for in the morning, early morning, and then come back for lunch. And then the evenings we usually spend around the gardens at the lodge, or we go up to a closer site, depending on what birds we're missing on or what birds we need to see. After we spend a few days at Kumul Lodge in Mount Hagen, we move up to Sirunki. And Sirunki, we move in to see the other birds in the area at a higher altitude. This is the blue bird of paradise, and on the right-hand side bottom is the lesser bird of paradise. And this is the feeders at the Kumul Lodge.
Great. Hey, before we move on to the Highlands there in Sirunki, anybody got any questions about Mount Hagen? And truly, every birding tour, no matter what birding tour company you're on, stays at Kumul. The feeders are just great, and truly, there's not a lot of lodging choices in anywhere along the tour route. Any questions about Mount Hagen area at all, or the Kumul area? Hearing none, we'll move on to Sirunki and Enga province.
Well, Sirunki is another nice site and the birding sites are at a higher elevation than what we do in Mount Hagen. There is a few list of a few species that we get. This is just to name a few. There's a lot more that we see around the area. We do drives out to different sites because around the lodge at Sirunki, there's not much birding. So we have to drive out to the sites and then we spend the whole day out. We have picnic lunch and all to save time coming back to the lodge for lunch. So we spend a whole day out birding. If you look at the slide, you can see the super bird of paradise. And then on the right, in the circle on top, right-hand side top, is the king of Saxony. A lot of the birds of paradise, I mean, some of them you really get good views of, but they can be distant, so you get nice scope views of. So at times, it does make it difficult to photograph birds. It's not as easy as photographing in other places. So that's why you may not see really nice photographs, because we do not concentrate on photographing the birds. We concentrate on getting good views of the birds rather than photographing them. This is an ifrit, blue-capped ifrit, which is found in Sirunki and around the lodge at Kumul as well. Eastern crested berrypacker, another bird that's found in Sirunki. Gray-streaked honeyeater, which is found in Sirunki and in Kumul. Red-collared myzomela, another bird that's found in Sirunki. Papuan lorikeet. And
okay, let's just take a little break. Anybody got any questions about the sort of Highlands area at Sirunki? And the name of that lodge is Yasokum, correct, Leo?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. And this is sort of our replacement of Tari. And again, we found the birding in the Highlands area there just terrific. And we're pretty satisfied with it compared to other Highlands areas. And quite frankly, the Kumul Lodge team kind of supports us when we're up at Sirunki. And I think it really adds to our experience in terms of service, ease of birding, and sort of expert local reserve-based guides to help us find the good stuff. Any questions about Sirunki or the Enga province at all? Questions are very welcome. Anything else? Hearing none, we'll hope for one or two more on the next round. Where are we flying off to next, Leo?
Yeah, just to remind, these first three sites that we covered are covered in the 10-day program. And now that we move on to the next site, it is all that goes on into the longer tour.
Yeah, and just like as a quick bit too that I should add, we spend like about two days of birding in the Port Moresby area, kind of overall during the tour. And given airport arrivals and departures, it's really, a couple half days and a full day. And then we stay in Mount Hagen. Is it for 2 nights or 3 nights, Leo?
In Mount Hagen, we stay for 3 nights.
Right, and then the Sirunki area, the Highlands, there we stay for 3 nights as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even though he quickly covered that in about 10 minutes time, it's really 6 days of birding. So keep that in mind. Okay, now we go to the tail end of the trip, which is really just on the longer tour as we fly off to Tabubil. Go, my friend.
Well, we get back to Mount Hagen and we got another short flight, which is another hour and a half to Tabubil. Tabubil is a small mining town, which has got a lot of forest patches, very quite remote forest patches, and a lot of fast flowing rivers. Every area that we do has got its own specialities, has got its different species that you have to cover up because of the habitat and because of the altitude and things. In Tabubil, the main birds that we look out for is the magnificent bird of paradise that you see on the screen. We also have the greater bird of paradise that we get in Tabubil and in Kiunga. Salvadori steel is a fast-flowing river duck that's found only in that area, which is not really easy to find. And I mean, we've been lucky that we have got it on nearly all our trips. We also get a lot of other birds that are there on the list as we spend time moving to different sites. Like I said, we stay in a hotel. The hotel is in town, but we do have a bit of birding around the hotel in this area in Tabubil. We've got quite a few nice big trees where we get hanging parrots, and at nights you can get chances for owls and things around the lodge itself. But we do drive out in the mornings and spend the whole day out, and sometimes we do drive back for lunch and then go to another site. So we have two major sites that we cover in Tabubil, and we try and spend most of our time at these sites. At some of the sites, we do stay out late in the evening to try and get some of the night birds and the shawlbill kookaburras and things, which is easier late in the evenings. I mean, Tabubil is in the Western Province, and in the Western Province, we cover 3 sites, which is Tabubil, Kiunga, and then we do the overnight trip up the Fly River.
Okay, so can we just spend a little bit more time back in Tabubil, Leio?
Yeah.
I know there's the dam area where I think is where you get the Salvadori's teal. There's a couple other nice species in that area. Remind me what they are.
Torrent lark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Torrent lark. I gotcha.
Torrent lark.
Okay.
And then you also get the blue-collared parrot, everything flying over, but the main species is the teal and the lark along the river.
Yeah. And then truly, this whole Tabubil, Kiunga, Kwatu area could not be birded without the local guiding team from Samuel's group. There was one time Samuel wanted us to go further afield for some sort of harpy eagle or large eagle. You know, and sometimes we do end up with a little bit of experimentation time, either between the 2 big lodging groups, or, you know, just because the weather is good, we can go a little bit further afield. How has any of that effort gone? Have we found some extra good stuff, or is it all?
We did try the last
Sam
trip.
likes to experiment with our groups for whatever reason. I think he gets along with Leio well.
we did try the new area last year, which was very productive.
Okay.
We had species which we would struggle for, which we got much more easily. So it was a better area, and I mean, species were more commonly seen, whereas earlier we would struggle for them and just get 1 and 2s, whereas here we had them in much easier locations.
Right.
So it was
and we're at Tabubil,
and it's much better site.
Right. And we're at Tabubil for 2 nights or 3 nights. I think it's 3 nights, right?
We had Tabubil for 3 nights.
Yeah, and it's sort of an old historic hotel that's been there forever, right?
This is it's mainly like a mining town, so you get a lot of these people coming on business and things like that, staying in there. Yeah. So it is a nice hotel. It is more like a business hotel. I mean, the restaurant is good. I mean, it's clean, perfect.
Yeah. And the pizza's supposed to be good, right?
The pizzas are nice. The food all over Papua New Guinea is really good. There's no doubt about the food in Papua New Guinea. The hospitality is really good. The people are nice. I mean, the locals are excellent. I mean, they're just nice people.
Yeah, and we truly have found. I mean, I have to say the Kumul group is great to us, and I just think Samuel likes you because you probably laugh at Samuel's jokes as well. But
he doesn't joke much. That's the problem.
But for what, maybe he just likes Leo's sense of humor. But we always find that Samuel is experimenting with us a little bit, and it's places that he scouted well. He just wants to see how it goes with a group, and it's been getting us better birds in that area. Any other questions about the Tabubil area before we move on to the tail end of the trip at Kiunga and Kwatu? So without flying, we go off to Kiunga, Kwatu, which is a straight drive. Is what, 2 or 3 hours, or 3 or 4?
It's around. We stop along the way, so it's around 4 hours. But the straight drive will be around 2.5 hours.
Gotcha. So 2.5 hours without birding, but we bird along the way, so it takes about 4. So we're next in Kiunga. Again, one of these lodges that everybody stays at. Same for most of the tour. And Leio will tell you about Kiunga birding, and I bet you we get to Kwatu as well. Go, my friend. I'm sorry.
Well, getting up to Kiunga, we spent a couple of nights in Kiunga. Again, the Kiunga Lodge is right in the middle of town, so we have to drive out to the sites. We've got a few sites, well-known sites that everybody does in Kiunga, and mainly focusing on forest birding. And there's a few grassland patches that we do for mannequins and things. And we also do an overnight trip up the Fly River, which is a very good experience birding wise. I mean, despite the fact that the accommodation is a bit basic, and that's the only basic accommodation that we have on the tour. Taking you through the birds that we see, the Sclater's ground pigeon is one of the biggest pigeons, and this is the one that we get along the Fly River when we go up to Kwatu. The other birds on the list are also some that we get in the area. There's a lot more birds that I can name, a lot more birds that I could put up, but for a short period, we just have to manage with the best ones that we can, and the photographs that I've got. New Guinea bronzewing is another quite a hard bird to get, but the locals that we use in the area, they build up hides where the bird comes for water and things, or where the birds come to feed. And we have certain areas that we got staked out for them. Bird of Paradise, this is another well-known site where the bird has been documented in the past, and it's a flag where the bird comes and displays. It's quite high where the bird sits up in the trees, but you get nice views of it. Photographing it can be a bit difficult and tricky, but the views are excellent. Blight's hornbills, they're quite common in the area. You get them everywhere in the forest, mainly along the Fly River when we're going on the boat. Cockatoos, you get sulfur-crested cockatoos and palm cockatoos in the area. I would say they're quite common along the Fly River. 12-wired bird of paradise. This is another bird that's on everybody's top list. And it's not a very easy bird to get, but again, our local guides, they've got stakeout points for it. So for this one, we had to go out in the boat early morning and sit in the boat, and there was this tree that was there, and the bird would come and display on it. And we just spent around half an hour to an hour watching the bird display before it flew off. There are times when you have to make 2 trips for it, because sometimes the bird doesn't come up and sit for long and goes off, so then it comes back again in the evenings, but mornings is usually the best time. And then from there, we move back to Port Moresby, where we do.
Yeah, let's spend a little bit more time back at Kiunga and Kwatu. I have a couple questions if nobody else does, and we're kicking butt on time. I think we're just 35 minutes into the presentation. How many nights we're at Kiunga for 4 nights and then Kwatu for 1, or is it 4 altogether?
No, we are Kiunga 4 and Kwatu 1.
Yeah, so Kiunga 4 and Kwatu 1. And the reason the deal with Kwatu, because I just like to lay it out to people, it is really basic accommodation. The bathrooms are as basic as you can imagine. And you would say it's clean, but super basic, right? Is that a fair description?
Yeah. It's clean, it's super basic.
And it's just super remote. How far do you go down the Elevala River, Leio?
We do a couple of kilometers down the river. And we go in the boat, and then we get off into the forest, and we walk in the forest. Now that is the area where at times you might require boots, depending on the tides and depending on what the weather is. Because the areas that we get off to can be a bit swampy.
Yeah.
And that's the area where you require some nice boots when you're walking through the swamp forest. And we have to walk through the swamp forest for certain species like the paradise kingfishers, few pitas and things that we need to get off the boat and walk into that forest. It is all safe walking, everything, but sometimes it can be just a bit swampy. That's the only thing. So since somebody had asked a question about boots earlier, that's the only place that you require to carry some heavy footwear with you.
Right. Hey, Jesse, if you could just send those questions just to you, that would be great. We had a question about bathrooms, which I really didn't want to spend that much time on. But quite frankly, it's you go to the bathroom over a tarp. And it lands in the tarp or it goes into a pit.
Was that Charles?
Oh, somebody had a question about bathrooms at Kwatu. Again, it's just a place we stay for one night. There's no choice. Every birding tour goes there. But we go to the bathroom, like you go to the bathroom over a tarp. Does it go into the tarp or does it go right into a hole?
It goes right into a hole. It's like some of those ones that you get around the reserves in the US.
Yeah, and somebody would like to see that picture of the 12 wired. Is it 12 wired bird of paradise?
Yeah.
We're getting some great questions here. So we just had a question about leeches during the tour. Are there leeches in Papua New Guinea?
No, we don't get any leeches in Papua New Guinea.
However, there is a nasty little booger. So to be clear, no leeches in Papua New Guinea. However, when you go up the Fly River towards Kwatu,
there are chances that you might.
This essential lifetime remote area birding, there's some sort of powder you put on your feet to stop what, Leo?
You stop the chiggers.
Yeah, there's a nice endemic yet mean chigger species in the Elevala River area, but you can get a powder to prevent antics. We do make sure everybody is well advised about preparing for the chiggers in the Kwatu area. I'm not going to end in Kwatu. We're going to end in Kiunga. And if you got that on somebody asked about shoes. Just in that one area in the Elevala River thing, it's nice to have a good pair of waterproof boots. And you would make those boots go up the ankle or up the thigh, Leo?
If they're up the ankle, it's nice. I would say up the ankle is much better.
Yeah, okay. So yeah. Just good standard hiking boots over the ankle.
That's right.
Waterproof is good. And there you go. So I think we've got the rough bits covered around the Elevala River and the Fly River and the Kwatu area, the rough one day of the tour. And truly, I was surprised how short the boat trip was. So it doesn't, but we take several hours to cover that couple of kilometers, right?
Yeah, we do take the whole day to go up the river because we keep birding along the sides, different places. And then when we get to Kwatu, we go out in the boat and get to different areas along the swamp forest and bird around there.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And we have to be at Kwatu in the morning to get what bird of paradise? I forgot.
We don't have to be at Kwatu. We have to be. It's along the river at a point where the 12-wired bird of paradise displays.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we just say a rough night for the 12-wired bird of. It's 12-wired bird of paradise.
It's a lot of birds. 12-wired is just one of them. There's a lot of other birds that we get out there which are special only to that area, which are restricted to that area.
Gotcha.
Like
okay, so then back to Kiunga, and truly our first birding tour in Papua New Guinea 5 years ago, we sort of broke off from another birding tour partner at that time, and quite frankly, because of guide quality and experience, I'm pretty happy with the breakup. I mean, it a long time ago, but Kiunga, our very first tour, we had the, at the time, one of the #1 birders in the tour was along with us. He truly felt you could never spend enough time at Kiunga. How many trails, how many birding sites around Kiunga, Leo? Dozens?
There's quite a, the local guides, Samuel and his boys, they keep finding new areas. So every year we go, we try out a new area in addition to what we are doing, what we did in the past. So we try and do every morning and evening 2 different areas. Sometimes we try and do 3 areas in a day, depending on the time of the day and what species we need. So, and sometimes we have to repeat the same area because we miss out on birds. So we have to go back again. Even if it is just for 10, 15 minutes, we have to go back and get that bird and then move on to another site. So it's 3 sites in a day we cover around Kiunga. And every time he finds some new area, which is just easier for some species. Because like everywhere else, patches of forest keep disappearing over time.
Gotcha.
So it does change every year we go there. But we are lucky to have Samuel and his boys moving around there all the time, so they know the area on the back of the hand. So yeah.
Yeah, and let's just say Team Samuel versus Samuel and his boys. I know that doesn't translate culturally, and I know that you use that term all the time. Yeah, let's just call it Team Samuel. Delivers the good. Sorry for the cultural coaxing there, my dear friend. What else we got? Oh, so just weather in Kiunga and Kwatu is lowland warm again. When we're in now, is Tabubil a little bit higher, and Mount Hagen in that Highlands part? How cool does it get in the Highlands area during the tour?
It doesn't get very. Up at Sirunki, it can get a bit cool, even at Kiunga, Kumul, Mount Hagen. So it's only those 2 places where it gets. It gets pleasant. It's not really cold that you get out there.
So maybe
it's that you need a light fleece in the morning when you go out for a couple of hours in the morning, and then it warms up again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is cooler. It's not hot the entire tour. During the 6 days where we're at Kumul and Sirunki, it's a bit cooler.
That's right.
Because I wanted to answer that question. Any other questions about Kiunga at all? I think we have a lot of time out there. And Dorothy provides, thanks to Dorothy, the elevation at Mount Hagen is 5,500 feet. And the lodge, in the Highlands Lodge there is a bit higher, probably 6,500 feet. That's a good answer. Man, the power of Google is great. Thank you, Dorothy. Any other texts or questions out there? How are we doing on time? Leah, what time do you have?
My question about the wirebird, there were 2 birds in the picture. Was the wirebird the little one that seemed to have little wires coming out its tail? That was never clarified.
Oh, I got you.
The bigger picture was the female, and the smaller picture on the right was the male.
Ah, I see.
Nearly all the birds of paradise, the females look like the dull. They all look similar, pretty similar, a lot of them.
Can you go back to that one?
Yes, sure.
Hey, and Peggy asked another good question. Thanks, Peggy. Quite a while ago, and I missed it. During the tour, do we see any birds of paradise lucking at all, or at least some sort of lucking behavior?
We got in Port Moresby and Varirata, we got the Regiana, and then we got the lesser bird of paradise in Mount Hagen, and then we got the greater bird of paradise lac in Kiunga.
So we hit 3 or 4 lacs.
3, 4 lacs.
4 lacs, I think. And somebody asked, does this tour start and end in Port Moresby? It certainly does. And a question okay, I just got distracted by birds at my feet here. I'm sorry. How many endemic species during the tour, Leo? They're almost all
I mean, the Papua New Guinea and the whole of New Guinea, half of the species are endemic. We get approximately there's around 781 species in Papua New Guinea, and out of which 76 are endemic.
Okay.
But a
And
lot
some
of
of them are in really
species,
remote areas. How many endemics do we get on the tour?
we don't get many Papua New Guinea endemics because the Papua New Guinea endemics are mainly on the islands.
Oh, they're shared with Indonesia. Okay, so let's
Yeah.
call them regional endemics.
but
You
the
get about
endemics-
40, 50.
But nearly all the birds are endemic to New Guinea.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Um,
And a very few are shared with Australia. But most of the birds found on the island are endemic to New Guinea, majority.
yeah. Okay. And okay, so any other questions out there? Feel free to chime in. How are we doing on time, Leo?
I think we already done with time.
Hi. How
Um,
many
yeah.
days are we without air conditioning?
The whole time.
You got air conditioning in Port Moresby. Kumul, we use hot blankets because at night it gets cold.
Almost Sirunki, you really don't want AC because it's cool at night.
Kiunga, we got air conditioning. Kwatu, there's no air conditioning for one night. So,
Right, so it's just really one night that it's hot.
It's only one
with
night at
no
Kwatu.
AC.
Okay.
Right, so it's really just hot. God, I lost my train of thought. Gosh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so to answer the question, besides the highland areas where it's cool at night, we have AC everywhere except for at Kwatu, which again is a single night is sort of a rough spot to say. Jesse, I'm missing some of those questions. Can you shoot them up to my screen?
Let's see.
Or just repeat them in my direction.
There was, do you see flame bowerbirds at their bowers a while back was a question.
Oh, yeah.
we-
That's a great question.
I mean, the locals usually find bowers and we go and spend time at the bowers. Flame bowerbird is one that we have very good chances of at the bowers. But we usually see it in flight, nearly on all trips. We've seen it in flight, but at the bower, you got to spend a lot of time. And sometimes because we need that time we got very little time in the area, we try and focus on other birds as well, which are endemic to the area and which are important as well. So we do not always spend a lot of time waiting at bowers. We do spend time, but not a lot of it.
Man, we're getting nailed with questions here, and I appreciate them. So one was on maximum group size. We always do groups of about 6 to 8 on this tour. We don't really like to do any groups bigger than 8 on any of our tours. And besides the 8 participants, we always have a lead bird guide in Leio de Souza. And usually we have at least one and sometimes several other local guides with us, right, Leo?
Yeah, we always have, we have one main local guide, and then we have a few other locals who always are there with us at all times, just to help out. And the others also, they're quite good at finding birds. So when we are out in the forest, they will go out to check boughs and they'll walk around and find things so that we don't miss out on anything. So we always have a couple of them, of Samuel's team out there as well.
Right, and somebody else asked me another health question on, we got about 2 or 3 minutes left before we'll wrap up for final questions. So we're doing great. Somebody asked about malaria. I assume there's malaria in Papua New Guinea, but I really don't know.
No, I don't think there's malaria because we don't. Yes, there is malaria. There is malaria in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, so we do recommend malaria prophylaxis for
Yeah.
question. And truly, every World Department of Health seems to answer that question differently. We'll see where that goes in the future. What else do I got? Back to bowerbirds. So how many bowers? So you see several bowers. How many birds are actually active at the bower when you sneak in, or is that the answer to that? None.
How many birds at the bowers? We got chances of 5 bowerbirds, 5 different bowerbirds. And the locals do try and find the bowers, and then we go and spend time at them.
And so you can actually see a bowerbird active at the bower.
We can see if the bower is active, we can see a bowerbird at the bower.
Okay, man. I love that.
The thing is that because bowerbirds, they frequent the bowers at certain times of the day. And if you miss that slot, then you got to wait for a long time before it comes back again. Right. So sometimes you can have just missed it, and you could spend a couple of hours, and there would be nothing at the bower, coming to the bower, and you'd be just sitting there and waiting. So we try and plan it out where we can try and get them, but we usually try and get them in the forest. And if we're lucky, we get them on the bowers as well.
Right. And so we don't sit around in the bower forever.
That's right.
Because we got to get other birds and see other birds. Somebody asked about, I just think there's just one riflebird species on the tour, right? And riflebirds, another, where does that fit family-wise? And then we'll do a couple administrative things.
Riflebirds, yeah, we get the riflebirds at, again, the birds of paradise.
Yeah.
We get them as well.
Hey, and just so we don't get a lot more questions on health issues, we always do send out a full, actually the Centers for Disease Control is the source of all of our healthcare recommendations. And historically speaking, and I believe will continue to be it's a federal agency in the United States that has just they just have a lot of integrity. And truly, I think they've tried to show leadership in a difficult time we've had here in the United States and the world. But the EDC has great information about traveling health. We will continue to use them as a data source. We also use the UK's Travel Health Agency as well as a data source. So we will send out more about that. We've had, a couple administrative things, and we've had some questions about cultural sites that we stumble upon. And you can cover that just in a second, Leo. But let's see here. So just the administrative bits. If you have, we've generally tried not to use last names, and I think we've been pretty successful with that. I can think of one I might have slipped up on. But if you feel your privacy has been stepped upon by participating in the video conference, we do share the video conference on Facebook, and we do share it on our website. If you do not want your image or question or voice to be used, please email operations@pibird.com. That's operations@pibird.com, and we will audit you out. And then just to cover, a full couple bits about the PIB, we do use premier birding guides in each country. PNG is really an exception. They do have great local guides. Because of sort of tribal reasons, there's no local guide that leads the whole tour. So we do bring in a tour leader, like the very well experienced Leio Souza to lead the tour. As you can tell, all our tours are conducted in English. Our price on PNG is, I don't even know how much cheaper it is than our competition, but it is about 10 or 20% less. So do keep that in mind when you're out there shopping. And our highlights tour is like probably 25% less. But we use the same lodges. I'm not sure why that is, but it is what it is. We always save an acre for bird conservation. In 15 years in business, we've saved over 85,000 acres. I think it's closer to 90,000 now, but I truly have lost track. I haven't tallied it in a while. And by the way, we hope to do a future Zoom call with folks from the Rainforest Trust, for whom we do most of our conservation work through. I put a call into that yesterday and have not heard back. But we're looking forward to doing a couple more on bird conservation and what that looks like kind of abroad. Any other good questions about PNG? And if you shot a question out there and we haven't answered it, text it across. For whatever reason, I can't get text on this device.
Well, if anybody, I mean, we do have trip reports and species lists and everything, and you could email operations@PIBird. If anybody wants to go through them, you could always email operations@PIBird and ask for more information on the tour, because I know that during this 1 hour, we cannot put in as much as you would see in a trip report and all the species seen and everything more in detail.
Yeah, and somebody asked us about, that PNG is dangerous to travel in. Truly, about a half of all tours, all the problems were in the Tari area. We no longer go to the Tari area. I don't think there's any bird tour company that does anymore. Leo, have we had a lot of dangerous situations outside of the Tari area?
Frankly speaking,
We've always avoided them.
PNG is no dangerous than any other country in the world. I mean, I would say it is as safe as anywhere else. We go to areas, the areas we go in are all with very friendly people. If they've got problems, they got it among themselves. They do not involve any of the locals or anything.
Yeah, and these are vastly rural areas with very few people in them, right?
Yeah.
And in Port Moresby, just for the record, is not a place you want to travel around on your own, which is going to lead me to my next question. So Port Moresby, you really don't want to travel around there that much. But we kind of, as soon as you land at the airport, you'll be with a guide and a transport group, and we'll get you to the hotel. We stay at safe hotels. We've never had a problem in Port Moresby. We want to keep it that way. And what else do I have? And Port Moresby is like any big urban area anywhere. Just, you got to be careful. What other thing? Oh, we had a question about mammals on the tour and culture.
I mean, you do. I mean, culture. You do come across. I mean, people dressed up in their local costumes and things along in the Highlands. But we usually don't approach them because of, or do photography or anything, because it is pretty rude to do it. Unless they're performing at the hotel or things like that, then it's a different thing. Mammals, there's not many mammals. I mean, we just get a handful of mammals, which is not easily seen around PNG.
Right.
There's a lot of butterflies. I mean, really a good selection of butterflies. And just to add on, I mean, people have this wrong impression that Papua New Guinea is hard birding and it's not for everybody. That's a wrong notion totally. It's not at all hard. It's very easy birding. I mean, it's like a lot of places where there's rainforest. Some of the birds are at the treetops, some are low downs, some are skulkers. But then you get nice flocks of them. And then like the video that you've been seeing is at the Kumul Lodge, where you get the feeders and you get the birds of paradise and everything just coming in throughout the day. So it's not hard. It's just an impression that has been built up that PNG is hard and it's dangerous. I mean, it is.
Well, and I think probably 20, 30 years ago, it was hard.
Yeah, it was.
But now,
it was difficult to get from one place to another and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but now there's reliable flights for the most part.
Yeah.
And truly, all this sort of danger difficulty, we've truly been really lucky. And now that Tari's gone, I don't think that'll be a problem. Anybody got any questions we didn't cover?
Hi, do you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Leio, I just want to say for anybody that is curious, Leio is a great guy. I really, he is so much fun and so funny. And I don't know if you remember us, but my husband and I, Ethan and Sarah Greenspan, and
Oh, okay, hi.
I was the woman that asked you to taste the milk in Goa. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
I would remember that. Anyway, I've had the pleasure of being with Leo at his own place in Goa, and he is a wonderful guide and a wonderful person.
Thank you.
Place the bird treehouse or something.
Any other questions out there? Thank you for that. It's not just my jokes he laughs at. He's really good company.
Yes.
Great. I think we're done unless anybody has any further questions. And one of these days we'll probably try a Zoom call, kind of guide by guide. I've envisioned like a pub chat. I don't know if Leo and I should whip out the beers at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. His 4 o'clock in the afternoon would be my like 9 a.m. in the morning. So I don't know if that's a good idea or not. But we're thinking that might be fun because I think it'd be good to kind of do something a little more funny. I've even thought about well, I won't tell you what rotten ideas I've had, but I've thought of anyway. We'll delve into that more so people can enjoy the personality of our guides a little bit more. Thank you all for participating today. We very much appreciate it. Oh, and by the way, we will be sending out more information about Papua New Guinea for all of you. If you go to our website at www.pibird.com, through a little navigation, you can get to our 22-page 18-day tour itinerary if you do want to read more. But thank you all for participating today. We very much appreciate it. I got nothing more. Do you got anything to add, Leo?
No, I don't think anything else. I'll just like to thank everybody and look forward to seeing you on some trip at some time once we get through this COVID.
Right, and our 21-22 schedule is up. Anybody who wants to book a tour, we're glad. I think the first tour is sold out for next year, but the Highlights tour and the other couple of tours are gaining some steam here. We think they're going to fill up as soon as we know a little bit more about the vaccine. And truly, we're not going to run the tour unless we have a vaccine. We're definitely on the other side of the pandemic. Okay, folks, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Charles.
Bye-bye. Yep, thank you, Leo.
Thanks, Leo. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Guilty.